All right, good afternoon, everybody. This is Brian Cafritz from SERMA, the Sports and Entertainment Risk Management Alliance, and we're here today for another episode of SERMAPod, SERMA's podcast that deals with the timely and interesting issues in the sports industry. Today, we're delighted to have a special guest with us, Lisa Licata, who is the Senior Director of Youth Sports Administrators at NAYS, the National Alliance of Youth Sports. Lisa, can you please tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
We're a 501c3 national nonprofit based in West Palm Beach, Florida. We were founded in 1981 to educate moms and dads who volunteer to coach their kids in youth sports. As our founder believed, fields, sports, and rinks are classrooms, and children learn a huge amount in there. And so those people who serve as coaches really become a teacher. They have to understand the social, emotional, and physical needs of the kids. And they also have to coach. So they have to teach a subject matter. And in school, that might be science or math, but out on the playground or out on our fields and youth sports, that could be soccer, or t-ball, or swimming, or lacrosse, or anything like that. So I've been with NAYS for a very, very long time. In 1994, we transitioned from the original name, which was NYSCA, or the National Youth Sport Coaches Association, and we formed NAYS as an umbrella to have programs and service to meet everybody that is involved in youth sports. So only coaches from 81 to 94, and 94 to date. We serve administrators, parents, kids themselves, officials, and administrators, which is really my focus. And so I joined NAYS that year. I oversee our industry recognized certification called the Certified Youth Sport Administrator Credential. And I also oversee our annual conference. We partner with a magazine called the Athletic Business Magazine. We host the NAYS Youth Sport Congress within the AB show each year. And then I also oversee our military relations, because NAYS programs, including earning the CYSA for staff, as well as coach education and parent orientation, is mandated on every American military base that has kids and families, obviously U.S. military bases worldwide.
I've actually attended the NAYS conference, and I would tell everybody that if you have an interest in youth sports, it's a great place to learn a lot. Given your experience in youth sports, I think that probably the first thing everyone's going to want to know is, what is your favorite youth sports movie?
Yeah, well,
it could be Bad News Bears, Mighty Ducks, Sandlot. Where are we going with you?
So that's a funny question. I would have to tell you it's not a movie, but it's a TV show. And there are a few episodes of Everyone Loves Raymond. Now that might be dating myself a little bit, but epic youth sports experience, because he was a professional writer at the pro level. And when his kids participated, he had a really hard time being a good youth sport parent, to the point that he holds his breath and everyone else moves away from him. Even his kids tell him to shh from the gym floor.
See, I personally, I'm a sucker for Hoosiers.
Yep.
When they ran the double picket fence for Jimmy, that's just the best. It doesn't get any better than that. Well, I'm sure people are probably going to get a little unruly listening to us talk about the movies, because I think what we want to talk about is some more timely issues. And speaking of unruly, I think that's what we're here to talk about, and that's unruly parents at youth sports events. It seems like every time we check the news, there are multiple incidents of parents shooting coaches or assaulting referees or going on these profane tirades. And I was reading recently where the National Association of Sports Officials says that because of harassment by parents against referees, it's gotten so bad that more than 70% of new referees will quit their jobs within 3 years. And I guess, I've always thought, when you think about it, sports and competition, that's just by definition an emotional event. And when you have parents involved, nothing's more emotional to a parent than their children and their well-being, more so than they care about themselves. So it shouldn't be a surprise that the combination of these two things kind of creates a powder keg that would trigger bad behavior. What are you seeing in your groups and your leagues?
So organizations of all types, whether it's a public entity, whether it's a community-based organization like a Boys and Girls Club or even a large youth association or military or religious group, they all can utilize NAES programs. So there's a very diverse group at the local grassroots levels in communities throughout the country using NAES programs. What we have learned from them and then what they learn from us, we really try to add value, giving them tools and resources. And what we see is that a lot of parents don't understand what youth sports is all about. So if you use the idea that our founder, Fred Eng, started our organization on, that field sports and rink for classrooms, if you think about it, and I know a lot of the people probably listening might even have been a volunteer coach before or had a kid involved in youth sport. But I can share with you, if you want some comedy, go to a first aid t-ball practice, right? See a mom or dad who volunteered to be the coach. Okay, and then you have a group of parents who bring their 4 and 5-year-olds. Some of them are going to have a bat out of the garage that their dad used for softball. Some of them might be wearing a full uniform. Some might have little rubber nubs on the bottoms of their shoes. And for the first time, they've realized they can dig a hole in a nanosecond. And some of them might even be wearing their leather glove as a hat, not knowing whether they are a lefty or a righty. Think about that. Okay. And the parent who's then sitting on the sideline watching their 4 or 5-year-old interact with a volunteer coach with the expectation that that coach is going to train and give their kid everything they need to know about that. Now go think about the child going into kindergarten, right? Same kind of experience. They're going to have their little coloring box, crayons. Don't you think most parents have gone through the colors and the numbers and the alphabet with their kid prior to them going to kindergarten? Yet they put their kid in the sport program with the expectation that the teacher is going to give their kid everything they need to know. So we sort of set ourselves up right from the beginning at the earliest stages with some challenges. It's really important to get those parents at the onset with some training and some education.
Well, yeah. So does NAES set up pre-season meetings or something with the parents where they can discuss expectations and behavior? How do you handle it?
Yeah, so correct. So organizations that are member organizations of NAES, and we offer that to any type of group to have some administrative view, to understand their role, to have access to things like the national standards for youth sports, the recommendations for youth sports, screening and background check guidelines, and an ancillary group of resources, plus all of the trainings and additional information we provide to the community. The community then has, whether it's the volunteer coaches or parents, go through some of these educational programs, which we do offer online. So coaches can go through, and again, 90% of our coaches are moms or dads. So giving them some basic understanding of youth sport philosophy and their role as a volunteer coach, what they can do to make it safe and fun and predictable. Then giving them safety information, everything from first aid and sudden cardiac arrest and prevention of child abuse and bullying, to then some sport-specific information. Not high-level X's and O's to look for the next coach going to Williamsport, but to ensure that they understand the basics to keep the kids engaged. Plus, they get some liability insurance on top of their homeowners and some other benefits like that. For the mom or dad, we have parent orientation. So they can understand their roles and responsibilities, what the coach's role, some of the things they can do to be model parents, some of the safety issues that are important to them, whether it's sudden cardiac arrest or bullying or concussion prevention. These are all still important things that we provide many free and fee-based programs available via the NAES website. And then all of the entities, whether you're a parent, a coach, an official, or an administrator, when you go through a NAES program, you have to agree to a code of conduct, a code of ethics, and that is something that we mandate. And then the local community can enforce that code. There's accountability procedures so that we can ensure that there's a safe experience.
So you say that's interesting. So the enforcement, and the enforcement is done by which avenue? Is it something that's initiated by the league, or is it something through the county law enforcement? Where does that enforcement come from?
So that is always on the organization itself. Now, in some cases where if it was something maybe potentially reportable child abuse, you might have to get law enforcement involved. But most of the time, there are complaints, or there is, I hope there's compliments too, but the organization receives a complaint, or they see something themselves, which requires action. We can't sit by and allow some of the things that you see on the news and that we see in the headlines happening, because as soon as it happens in the local community, then everyone wants to be proactive. And really that's reactive. We're trying to get organizations to be proactive ahead of time to reduce some of those incidences, which with training, with education, with accountability, it does bring down those incidents.
So in addition to maybe taking action against the parent, him or herself, does enforcement or remedies include, forfeiting games or suspension of the child from participating?
So
how far do you go?
Right. And that's an interesting conversation, and that's an interesting issue, but it really has to be dealt with at a local level, because there's so many organizations that run youth sports. Some are going to be affiliated with our national governing bodies. Some of them are going to be affiliated with national organizations. Some of them at those levels have their own policies and procedures. Other organizations are running based on maybe how it's been done for the last 30 or 40 years. Maybe there's a actual printed book or something digitally. There's just different standard operating procedures and guidelines. In our academy, we encourage our CYSAs to have written policies and procedures. We encourage them to outline and identify all of these, whether it's, dealing with incidences, or what are the ramifications if there's an emergency. All of those things need to be addressed to create the safest, highest quality youth sport program. And that's probably something else that would be interesting to share, would be that there is an organizational quality checklist. It's free of charge, just for organizations to go through to determine, self-identify, do they have strengths and weaknesses in the execution of their sport program. When they meet all of those baseline criteria, we actually invite them to be part of our annual Excellence in Youth Sports Award, because we like to identify organizations that are not only meeting the baseline standards of quality and what we should be doing, but then doing innovative and creative things that are replicable, that other organizations can learn from. Things like sportsmanship initiatives, things like signage and statement. If there's all sorts of promotional things, there's things that organizations are doing to change that culture that is happening at the grassroots level.
Yeah, it just seems that the pressure now is so great for the kids to perform or succeed at a certain level and win, that we have forgotten ultimately why they're there in the first place. So if you could share any takeaways to our SERMAPod listeners, what could they learn and take away from this? What would you tell them?
So I think there's a few takeaways. Number one, organizations that are not doing anything, that are just running because it's been done that way forever, are really just waiting, and they're really a ticking time bomb. Two, for anyone who is involved in youth sports at any level, there's a perception issue. So especially for public entities, public entities tend to have the most facilities in the community. They have multiple gyms and rec centers and parks and fields where youth sports run. Many of them internally execute some youth sport programs, and then many of them allow external providers, maybe a youth league or a soccer association or even a tournament, to come in and utilize their facilities. The general public who comes to the park and plays in a league Tuesday night, a basketball program with their 10-year-old, they may or may not know whether it's affiliated with the city or town or county or not. But I guarantee you, if an incident, an injury, or an accident occurs, or they have a question, again, I hope it's a compliment, but usually it would be a question or a complaint, who are they going to call? They're going to go and look where they park that car. There's a placard that said, welcome to the county, city, town of, borough of. That's who gets the phone call. And that's one of the reasons why we're so focused on providing frontline staff training for everyone that works in those public entities, for ensuring or encouraging that every community has a certified youth sport administrator, so that there is a foundation of information that people are trying to create some consistency. Whether you're on this side of town or that side of town, you want a high quality, safe, and fun youth sports experience for your kids. Because if they're not participating, if they have a bad experience, they're not going to benefit from all of the good things that we know they get out of being in a good youth sports experience.
Well, that is great insight, Lisa. Thank you so much. I want to thank Lisa Licata from NAYS for helping us out today. If you stumbled across our website and would like to learn more, please visit our website at www.theserma.org and get access to our other 50-plus SERMAPods on a variety of issues. I'm Brian Cafritz for SERMA. Until next time, we're signing off. Thank you.